What comes to mind when you hear the name Mark Cuban? Well, for some people who, in some cases, have no idea who this prominent figure is, there's a chance they would link the Cuban in his name and say he's the owner of the companies making these neck chain, which are called Cubans or some crap like that, expecting to see a head-to-toe bling dripping dude, but nope, that's not who Mark Cuban is. Mark Cuban is a self-made billionaire and also a prominent figure in the world of business. The American is an entrepreneur and investor that has made his fortune through several methods and businesses. He is also known for his appearance on the Shark Tank show where he invests in startups. This billionaire has a lifestyle like any other, but what makes the American different from any other random billionaire? Or basically, what are the basic similarities between Cuban and them billionaires? Because it's no tale that these billionaires have a hunch of getting anything and everything they want if they need it or not. Ridiculously expensive things, I tell you. But screw it, I'm rich. Here are some of the stupidly expensive items owned by the businessman and entrepreneur Mark Cuban. Of all the things Mark Cuban owns, this was a very ridiculous purchase that cost Mark around $125,000. Now, before you think this is a ticket to see Disneyland for a whole year, or to attend a boring convention in Las Vegas, I'll correct you on that. This ticket actually is a one-of-a-kind ticket that allows Mark Cuban to fly anywhere in the world without having to pay a dime. And what's more, the ticket admits one extra, and it flies in first class for all life, literally. So basically, he bought a lifetime pass on the American Airlines that allows him to fly anywhere in the world in first class. When asked during an interview, he stated when he made his first profit of about $6 million, this was the first purchase he made, and then he was just beginning to acquire wealth then, but then he eventually gave it out to a friend when he made more bands and transitioned from millions to billions. He was able to purchase his private jet worth millions of dollars. And yes, before you ask, he owns a private jet. We really can't be surprised, as it's the #1 thing a billionaire must own. I really don't know if there is a rule book or something that suggests to billionaires, hey man, the moment you become a billionaire, go buy a private jet. Private jets are really expensive and of course not available to the general public, as not everyone can afford them. That's why airports are flooding every day with individuals that require the service of inter-country travel. But not Mark Cuban, as he splashed exactly $40 million on a Gulfstream G550 after his success with Broadcast.com in 1999. When an average person thinks about $40 million, it seems like a lot, doesn't it? But for Mark Cuban, piece of cake. This purchase was also the largest e-commerce buy in the world, landing him a spot in the Guinness Book of Records. Time is a really valuable asset to a businessman, and as Cuban stated, it helped him maximize the time he was able to spend with his family. Well, he didn't stop there, as he added another jet to his private jet collection, a Boeing 757-200. But Mark didn't buy this jet for his personal use. He got the jet for his NBA team, the Dallas Mavericks, in which he owns a 27% share. Blatantly showing his commitment and passion for the game and the well-being of his players, this jet also comes with a couple of features that make it stand out from just being a regular plane, easily accommodating players taller than 7 feet. Embedded in this beauty is a weight room and also a medical treatment room. Mark Cuban spent a whopping $36 million on this haven of a jet to make sure his players are comfortable. Maintaining a private jet is no easy feat, and you can only wonder how much it takes to maintain these jets. I mean, you wouldn't call your normal mechanic to take a look at your jet's engine unless you want to see the creator on your next flight. These billionaires make it a habit to just splash ridiculous amounts of money on things they don't even need, and Mark Cuban is not any different. Do you know that this dude literally bought democracy? Just kidding though. He didn't buy actual democracy, but the website democracy.com. Mark Cuban has had a kind of beef with Donald Trump for a period of time. Those two don't get along at all. Both are billionaires and don't hold back when it comes to dragging each other when they feel they can. It all started when Donald Trump made a post online stating that he would donate $5 million to charity if Barack Obama showed his birth certificate. Mark Cuban responded to Trump, saying he would give Trump $1 million if he shaved his hair. Talk about defending a friend. We all need friends like that in our lives, to be honest. So, in the long run, Mark Cuban found out that Trump was interested in buying the domain, but acted fast and purchased it for a whopping sum of $300,000, so no politician or anyone else could use it for their own personal gains. This also enabled him to use it for his political aspirations, if he's interested. Mind you, he has once mentioned that he would be interested in running for president at some point in time. This might just be a step to becoming president for big man Cuban. I bet you're thinking, I haven't seen any home or abode of any sort. Well, we're getting there. Mark Cuban is a persona that is really big on family and does everything he does for the adequate wellness of his family, which is why Mark Cuban owns a massive mansion that covers about 7 acres of land. At this point, I could even call it an estate due to its size and composition. This is the private abode of Mark Cuban and his family. In the posh neighborhood of Preston Hollow in Dallas, this massive palace has several infrastructures embedded within, with the main building covering a massive 23,000 square feet. Apart from the royal look and eloquent designs, this home is very welcoming and enjoyable, while being equipped with a home office, a very large swimming pool, and also a sports court comprising basketball and tennis courts, respectively. Aside from that, there's a massive guest house still in this estate, equipped with countless amenities and functionalities. The worth of this estate is unknown. This palace is the abode of Mark Cuban and his family, but given the location, size of the home, and the embedded facilities, this home could be worth a little more than $50 million. But what do I know? I barely stay in a rented apartment in heaven knows where. Being an investor and a really smart businessman, Cuban didn't think twice about investing in cryptocurrencies, as they are very fruitful and have amazing ROIs. In this case, he decided to invest in this meme coin called Dogecoin. Well, at least that's what it sounded like he called it. Being a huge fan of cryptocurrencies, he splashed his millions into it and owned a significant amount of this coin, to the extent that the Dallas Mavericks store started accepting Dogecoin as a form of payment. So, cutting to the chase, which is ultimately how he lost a huge amount of money in this. The stocks didn't drop in any way or whatsoever, but he was scammed out of it all. A scammer uploaded a hack trivia to him, and all he had to do was click a button, and all the assets in that particular coin were gone, totally. More or less like taking a cup of water from the shore of the Pacific Ocean. Like, brother, there's more from where that came from. Mark Cuban purchased an entire town. Yes, don't ask twice. This purchase actually happened. You know, this deserted town that was just some miles away from Dallas named Mustang had been deserted for a long period of time. The fact that it was listed for over 4 years until Mark decided to purchase it showed that no one was quite interested in buying this town. But the reason Mark Cuban purchased this small town was really touching and emotional, as he didn't buy this property as an avenue to make money off it, but instead made the purchase to help a struggling friend who was the owner of the town, but was facing bankruptcy and couldn't take care of his family adequately anymore. This town in Texas, over 60 miles from Mark's mansion in Dallas, extends over 26.5 acres in size and, yup, is a ghost town. At the point that Mark Cuban made this purchase, there were only 2 buildings standing, an old strip club and a deserted mobile home. Marty Price, who was the friend of Mark Cuban and the owner of the deserted town, was sick at the time and needed to let go of the real estate. When he approached Mark and asked him to purchase the town, he didn't hesitate at all and purchased the town from Marty. Marty, who was a huge basketball fan, often had courtside seats to watch the Mavericks play. It's undisclosed how much Mark Cuban splashed on the purchase of Mustang, but initially, the listed price for Mustang was about $4 million. But I'm sure as hell Mark paid more than that for the purchase of Mustang, as the motive behind the purchase was solely to assist a friend who would have gone bankrupt if something hadn't happened. For all you know, I'm a longtime friend of Cuban, and I'm going to find something to sell ASAP. Mind you, even though the town is in disarray, Cuban has the ability to transform this town into a top-notch city, as it's just an hour's drive from Dallas. We could see his imagination being driven wild to maybe create a Cuban city of sorts, while being very particular about his security. Being a very influential and popular persona in society, it wouldn't be a surprise that he'd want to protect himself and his family from any kind of attack or violence that might be directed at them. Trust me, a man like Mark Cuban sure has a long list of individuals that probably spite him and want him, well, dead. But he's a really nice guy. I mean, so generous. But still, he can't let anything slip up. Check out this brother's maxed out Mercedes Maybach, or I would call it Mercedes Maytank, because this vehicle is more like a tank with some presidential security measures in place. From the entire bodywork of the vehicle, down to the not-so-rubber tires, this vehicle is completely bulletproof and capable of taking shots fired. This car weighs 11,000 pounds, approximately the weight of 2 really huge elephants. Made out of complete reinforced steel, this monstrosity can also withstand bomb attacks, making the occupants of the vehicle completely safe. The fact that dictators and world leaders also pick this maxed-out Maybach as their main instrument of movement to protect them from all kinds of threats shows how far Mark is willing to go to protect his family from any kind of danger. This was why he didn't think twice about splashing a whopping $1.5 million on this tank of a vehicle. Tell me, what do you think about these purchases Mark made? Worthwhile or unnecessary? Let me know in the comment section below, and follow us for more content highlighting the extravagant and lavish lifestyles of billionaires all around the world.